Am I the a-hole for firing my nephew after he lied about another worker stealing? I run a small business and for over a year and a half, I've been employing Brian, not his real name. He is a decent worker. Comes in every day for 1 to 2 hours to sweep, mop, clean the windows, keep the front tidy, and take out the trash. 2 months ago, my sister asked me if I could offer my nephew, Henry, 19 male, a job because they are going through some financial troubles and need his help. Gave him a full-time job where he's basically like my receptionist, answering the phone, helping me organize papers and such. The reason Henry knows about Brian is because I talked about him to my family once. Brian used to sleep right outside by the entrance every night, or sometimes I'd find him digging in our dumpster around the back. So I decided to offer him some work and he accepted. Since Henry started, he's had some attitude with Brian when he comes in. Twice I came back after meeting clients. Henry was making Brian unload supplies that were dropped off, saying that I told him to have Brian do that. They were arguing because Brian said he couldn't do it. I was already told by him when he first started coming in that he can't do heavy lifting because of back problems he suffers from. So I got mad at my nephew over that. I tried to chalk that up to my nephew, not really knowing much since he's new. Last week, Henry told me he saw Brian going to the back office and going through everyone's things. Then, supposedly, he also went into my office. I didn't believe him because only a few people have keys to my office. My nephew being one of them because sometimes he needs to leave papers on my desk when I'm not around. Brian doesn't have keys for any of that because he only needs to get the cleaning supplies from the closet. Henry said he left his keys out front when Brian was there when he went to answer the phone and now he can't find them. He kept saying I should fire him. One look at the security cams proved he lied about the whole thing. The fact that he lied about it and also kept suggesting Brian be fired for something Henry knew he didn't do upset me very much. Wasn't thinking at the moment because I was a little overwhelmed with anger and fired him there. You can guess how my family took that, firing my own nephew, when according to them, he didn't do anything wrong. He suspected of the man and thought he was doing the right thing coming to me. My sister said Henry just misplaced his keys and rightfully assumed Brian stole them and says he's never felt comfortable anytime he came to clean. Even though Henry won't give me actual reasons why he was uncomfortable about Brian, other than believing he would steal something. Brian has never done anything like that before. Everyone thinks I'm the a-hole for firing, refusing to rehire him over this because of what their family is going through, and it's getting to me. To clear the air for me, am I the a-hole? Top comments. Here's a comment. Not the a-hole, it's your business. Sounds like your family is okay with nepotism and outraged that you made the right choice. A comment from Rhetorical Twigs. Even if the nephew is eventually right about Brian being some bad guy, that doesn't matter. OP caught his nephew lying about what's going in his business or what he ordered to be done at least twice now. It's a small business, not a Fortune 500 company that can absorb hits from irrational employees' hijinks. It's a risk for a small business to have someone like that on staff. Even false accusations can get OP sued for liability for what his nephew does. Here's another comment from Vegetable Grand 9998. Not the a-hole. Sometimes blood is thicker in the sense that it clogs up your arteries and makes you feel shit. Henry is a liar and a judgmental jerk. You acted on evidence and saw that Henry was lying. You were perfectly reasonable in firing him. Here's another comment from Like a Hike. Not the a-hole. Your nephew was kicking a man who was already down. How you treat people in need says a lot about your personality. Your nephew can't be trusted in small things and not in big things. If you hadn't fired your nephew for this, it would have been something else. Your family is angry because they see Brian as lesser than themselves. Not worth getting upset over. They're wrong. He is valuable and deserving, and you did him a great kindness. Next story. Am I the a-hole for getting into a fight with my pregnant wife about dyeing our unborn child's hair? My mom hates my wife to the point no contact was the only choice. I admit I should have done it sooner, but it broke my heart. The relationship was so deteriorated that when I told my mom about the no contact, she said she didn't even care as long as she never had to see my wife's ugly face. I haven't seen my mom in 2 years, with the exception of my sister's wedding. My wife and my mother-in-law used to be close but are having issues lately. Mother-in-law has become friends with my mom despite knowing how my mom talks about her daughter. This obviously hurts my wife. My mom has dark red hair, closer to brown. Maybe auburn is the right word, and I have slightly browner but some red in it. Mother-in-law is strawberry blonde and my wife is regularly blonde. My wife is currently pregnant. At the wedding we attended, someone who didn't know the situation asked my mom if she was excited to be a grandmother, and my mom said she would not be meeting the baby and doesn't think of it as her grandchild, but then turned to us, laughed and said we might have a red-haired child and it is going to drive my wife crazy. My wife got upset, so we left the wedding. A few days later, my wife has talking to her cousin who is a hairdresser and asking if there is any non-harmful way to dye a baby's hair. She said no, and I interrupted and asked what it was about. My wife said that she was thinking and it would hurt her mental health if our daughter looked like our moms, mainly mine, and she was seeing if there was a way to dye her hair. I snapped at my wife. That was crazy and selfish. Our baby isn't an extension of anyone, and her hair is her hair. My wife began to cry and said she wouldn't do it unless it was 100% not harmful, which now she knows isn't an option. But I said it's more than that, and she shouldn't have even thought about it. She ended up crying for an hour, which she is struggling with the pregnancy hormones right now, but I feel awful. Now for the top comments. Here is a comment from Time Lord ATX. Not the a-hole. Your wife needs a therapy if her own child's hair color is going to trigger her. Another comment from Low Assistance 9231. It actually made me wonder just how badly her mother-in-law was to her that even the thought of her kid having the same color hair freaked her out that badly. Another comment from Big Potential 7362. Wife needs to go zero contact with mother-in-law and her own mother. She probably needs therapy. I don't think she is the monster most commenters are making her out to be. I honestly don't think hair color is the real trigger. It's the idea that her mother and her mother-in-law will use the hair color as a weird, pathetic dig against her. She's pregnant, losing her mom, and worried her baby's appearance is going to be a way for people to be cruel.